From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. My name is Mazino Appeal. The top stories tonight. National Security Adviser meets with service chiefs following reports alleging possible U.S. military action in Nigeria. And factional chairman of the PDP takes over National Secretariat amid tight security as party's leadership crisis escalates. Tanzania swears in President Samia Hassan as president after days of deadly protest against the outcome of the presidential election.
In business, reactions trail 15% import duty on petrol and diesel as marketers warn levy could disrupt operation.
And in sports, Nigeria's Rivers United face strong North African tests following current season's draws for group stage of the CAF Champions League.
Tonight begins now. Now we begin tonight with the currently burning issue around national security, for which the National Security Adviser Nuhu Ribadu has held an emergency meeting with service chiefs and heads of security and intelligence agencies. The meeting followed reports that U.S. President Donald Trump has directed preparations for possible military action in Nigeria. Security sources say the meeting focused on evaluating the implications of Trump's remarks, accusing the Nigerian government of failing to protect Christians from Islamist militant groups. It was alleged that the U.S. military was preparing to act in Nigeria to tackle Islamist militancy, a statement that has generated reactions across the country and beyond. Reports say the meeting of the NSA and the service chiefs was to coordinate a unified national security response and review intelligence assessments on the potential consequences of President Trump's pronouncement. Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the President on Policy Communication, Daniel Bwala, has stated that it is diplomatically inappropriate for the United States to carry out any military action in Nigeria without the explicit consent of the federal government. Bwala emphasized Nigeria's sovereignty and stressed that any foreign involvement in its security matters must be collaborative and respectful of its territorial integrity. His remarks followed U.S. President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged Christian genocide and his warning that the Nigerian government could lose U.S. aid if it does not address insecurity swiftly. Bwala dismissed claims of Christian genocide as inaccurate, highlighting that Nigeria's ongoing fight against insecurity affects all citizens. Now let's take a deep dive into this development as we turn to Dr. Yohana Dangana, who is President Northwest Nigeria Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And also joining us is Dr. Joe Keshi, retired diplomat, as well as, we will be further joined by global analyst Alexander von Rugen. But gentlemen, oh yes, here you are. Thank you very much, von Rugen, for joining us. You are here with us. So all three of us are here. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Now, I'm going to be starting with Dr. Yohana. Now, it's no longer news. President Trump has described situations in Nigeria as Christian genocide and hinted possible U.S. military intervention. So, Dr. Yohana, that's a huge claim. It has global implication. From your vantage point in the North, do you think the situation truly fits that description, or is it being politicized for foreign interest? Dr. Yohana, that question is for you. I think we have an issue with Dr. Yohana's communication. So we'll be moving on to Mr. von Rugen now, if you do not mind. Mr. von Rugen, I'm going to put that question on your lap. Do you think that there are interests here, or does it really fit the description of what's happening in Nigeria?
Anna would be best to answer that, as he's on the ground in Nigeria. He's a Christian, and if the numbers are correct, which I can only go by what I'm reading in the news feeds. And recently, when Eric Prince, the former owner of Blackwater, approached the Pope to offer his assistance for the security of Christians in Nigeria, the statistics he quoted was that there were about 7,000 of them killed in 2025 to date, and about 100,000 total since 2009. Those are quite astounding numbers.
So what does this signal for foreign policy? What does this signal for relationship between Nigeria and the U.S. when a country starts using words like genocide? Now, this seems to be something that could strain diplomatic relationships, doesn't it?
Well, yes, but it's not the government of Nigeria that's behind the genocide. And let's talk. If it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, let's call it a duck. The rest of the world is challenging Israel and condemning them for a genocide in Palestine. There's been roughly 65,000 Palestinians killed in the conflict in Gaza. We're far in excess of those numbers, and let's not stick to Christian deaths. There's about 350,000 people, Muslim, atheist, tribal, that are in that tally. Christians amount to about 20% of them. But the fact that America is predominantly Christian, the fact that Trump's supporting strength in the party from the far right tends to be Christian, they're of course very upset about this. The missionaries in Nigeria have reached out to the West and called for assistance.
Okay.
So that's why they're mentioned.
Okay then. I'll come back to you, Van Rugen, but I'd like to ask Dr. Joe Keshi a very interesting question now. So President Trump's, labeling of the situation as genocide comes with so much implication. It also threatened that he might also action this with boots on the ground. But we've seen this happen before, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk about Kuwait, 1991. The situation there left a lot of things unattended to, even 10 years after. And here again in Nigeria, or we saw that in Libya, and here again in Nigeria, having this same situation come our way. So one has to ask if this is a genuine humanitarian concern, or perhaps maybe there's something else underneath. What do you think, Dr. Joe Keshi? Yet again, I seem to be having issues with our connection with our guests. Dr. Joe Keshi, are you there? Can you hear me? Dr. Joe Keshi, I apologize. It seems we cannot hear you. If your device is muted, you might want to check that.
No, I don't think,
Okay.
Let me see. No, I don't think so. I'm unmuted if
Yes.
you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Yes. First of all, yes, I think that the issues you raise have practically no relevance with what's going on in Nigeria. What we, and some of them border, the ones who raise Kuwait, Iraq, and the rest of them, they border on things that, touch direct U.S. national interest, and the U.S. felt that it has to take action. But this is a completely different situation. I think the first thing we need to realize, and Nigerians need to be completely or fully aware, is that this issue of declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern did not start yesterday. It's been on the table for many years. I have held a number of interviews, and I've made it clear that as permanent secretary, I dealt with the issue in 2009. I visited Washington, had a meeting with those concerned, and it was quietly resolved, and their concerns were taken. It's also realizing that there are a couple of things it has not done well in terms of trying to manage the crisis, and what they can do is find a way to manage the crisis. Mm-hmm. The whole argument that, Muslims are also being killed does not make sense. Muslims are human beings. Should they have been killed? A government responsibility is to provide is to provide security for its citizens, irrespective of religion or tribe. And when you fail to do this, and you have been failing for years, and people have been complaining, they've been compiling information, they've been sharing this information with the outside world, and the outside world has been taking notice of this. And now somebody has spoken and said, look, Nigeria, get your acts together or we do this. And we are all jumping all over the place pretending that it's a new issue. No, it's not a new issue. We've been just lackadaisical about it. We've paid no attention to it. How do you explain that for 15 good years, Nigeria is not at war, but so many lives and properties have been destroyed in this country as a result of the failure of the government to do the right thing, to do the right thing when it was necessary to do the right thing to save lives and property.
Keshi, so if Nigeria has failed, then who could help if not the United States? Where is the African Union? They've stayed noticeably quiet.
Nigeria has.
Just a second, sir.
No, I have not said Nigeria has failed. I said the government, successive governments have failed to take up. Look, I place on table again. This is not a new issue. This is not a new issue. It's just that the people pushing the narrative about genocide in Nigeria realize that they cannot get relief at home. And they now...
Ambassador Keshi, what about the African Union? They've stayed noticeably quiet through all of this. No clear statement, no visible mediation, no effort whatsoever. What about the African Union?
No. Look, the African Union has very little to do in this. If the Nigeria needs the support of the African Union, we can approach the African Union. But this is something that the Nigerian government needs to do on its own. And the way forward is engage the United States government as best as you can and lay out everything on the table and then give a guarantee that you will try and find a way to resolve the issue. Again, I will continue to say this. This issue did not start yesterday, but those directly involved, particularly in Benue, in Southern Kaduna, in Plateau, that have been pushing this narrative, they have not succeeded after so many years of taking it to the highest level, like in the United States, and now Britain has joined it.
Ambassador
Simply
Keshi?
because nobody in Nigeria paid attention to their complaints.
Ambassador Keshi, you will do pardon us. We have to go on a break, but I'm still going to come back to you two fine gentlemen because I still have plenty of questions to ask, especially with you, Alexander. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. And you're welcome back. We're still discussing the issues between Nigeria and, of course, the United States President, President Donald Trump. With us here, we have, of whom we've been speaking with, Dr. Yohana Dangana, President, Northwest Nigeria Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He joins us now. We missed him from before. And, of course, we have Alexander Von Rugen and Ambassador Joe Keshi with us. Dr. Dangana, it's good to have you here. I wanted to ask you from before, now the situation that's been painted by the United States President Donald Trump, I'm wondering, you are in the North, you've seen these issues. Does this paint the exact picture of what he is describing? Dr. Dangana, please.
Okay, good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to be here. Really, this issue has some complexities. It has some perspectives that we must be fair in addressing this issue. Anyone living here in northern Nigeria must say the truth, or we have to say the way it is. We should not provide an imbalanced view about this matter. The truth of the matter is Christians are being killed here in northern Nigeria, and as well, Muslims are also being killed here in northern Nigeria. For example, if you come to northwest states, geopolitical region here in northwest, places like here in Kaduna, southern Kaduna especially, and then you go to Katsina State, you go to Zamfara State, you go to Sokoto State, you go to Kebbi State. There you are going to see Muslims being killed. As a matter of fact, few days ago, some Muslims were praying in the mosque in Katsina State, and about 50 of them were killed inside the mosque. So also in Zamfara State, a lot of Muslims are being killed in northwest states. Then when you go to areas, certain areas in the north central, such as Plateau State, you go to Benue State and southern Kaduna and probably Nasarawa State, there you have a record of a lot of Christians being killed. So the question is, who is killing Christians and who is killing Muslims? These two religions, these two people, the suspect, or it has been alleged that they are being killed by herdsmen bandits. So herdsmen are killing Muslims, herdsmen are killing Christians.
So would you be clear, Dr. Dangana, would you be clear, does this paint the same picture that is being painted by the US president? If you can give us a yes or a no.
I don't think it is completely yes, and I don't also think it's completely no.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Dr. Dangana.
Christians are being...
I think we've missed, we're having those issues again, but we'll come back to you, Dr. Dangana. Ambassador Jokeshi, I see you reacting there. I will come back to you. I need to talk to Alexander for a moment. Alexander, so country of particular interest. I mean, this phrase might sound harmless, but in global politics, it's a very, it's like a warning. Some people would say it's concern, some people would say it's selfish interest. But what exactly does that signal if foreign policy, or in foreign policy language, how should President Tinubu read his country being regarded as a disgraced nation by another country's president?
Well, it was described earlier by my colleague. This problem has persisted for the past 15 years, and the government of Nigeria hasn't come up with a solution. The rest of the world is watching. There's pressure on this from Christian groups. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't further pressure escalated from Islamic groups. This is not a Muslim-Christian battle. This is a group of thugs using a cloak of the Islamic religion so they can expedite their greed and agendas for power in a given territory. They're killing Muslim clerics just as much as they're killing Christian clerics. Sheikh Albani, a Salafi cleric who was a staunch anti-extremist, was murdered several years ago by the same group. So let's not make it let's not make it denominational. Rather, let's look at a solution to solve the problem.
Solution is indeed. Ambassador Keshi, you were reacting there to Dr. Dangana's remarks or explanation of what's happening in the north. What was that we saw?
No, you know, this is why we've been unable to address this issue, because we have refused to face the reality of our time. You know, whether they are headsmen, the headsmen, many of them, majority of them are Muslims to start with. I have always maintained, and I repeat myself again, this issue has been on the table for so many years. Two, as he rightly pointed out, the problem is that look, whether you make the argument that, oh, Muslims are also being killed, for me, that is inhuman. Muslims are human beings. The question is, should they have been killed? Should innocent Muslims have been killed in the first instance? So what is the role of government? Government's role is the protection of lives and property. If you fail to protect your people, the consequence is what we are now experiencing. It makes no difference. A Muslim is a human being, for goodness sake. So let's stop this argument that Muslims who are being killed. No, that's not the argument. The argument is that we are confronted with a state of insecurity. We've been dealing with this insecurity for 15 years. And I've been saying to any Nigerian who cares to listen, can somebody explain to me how we have, quote and unquote, a powerful military? We are spending so much on defense. And for good 15 years, we've not been able to root out a group of ragtag characters destroying our economy, destroying lives and property, and then we believe that, okay, it's okay. Sometimes, like the killing of a number of Christians, nobody has been brought to justice till today. And let me say to the gentleman, you know, we in this country need to realize that we do not live in a world of isolation. When I confronted this issue, I met the group, appointed by the U.S. government that is dealing with this issue in 2009. They had, unbelievably, they had information, they had the numbers of Christians killed. They can pinpoint and tell you the villages where these people were killed.
Do we have that? Do we have those numbers? Does the Nigerian government have those numbers, Ambassador?
Look, I want to believe they have, because every day we see all kinds of numbers. But the point I want to make is that
if you
the U.S. government and those involved in this have numbers of what they are talking about. So that's not the issue. The issue for me is this insecurity has lasted too long, and there's no clear-cut explanation why it should last too long.
Right.
The fact is that it has cost us innocent lives. It's affecting the economy because we are spending so much on defense. The money that should have been used to develop lives, to develop, the Nigerian economy, human capital, and the rest of it. So it's not a question of Muslims are being killed or Christians are being killed. No, it's a question of the fact that time has come to end the insecurity. And if this is a warning from the United States that will make us end it, so be it.
So thank you for ending on that note, because I was going to come to Dr. Dangana, but I hear that we have lost Dangana. But let me just ask you two gentlemen in one statement each what your positions are on an American intervention. Alexander, please, if you'd go first.
I think Nigeria needs to extend an olive branch to Trump for his assistance. And that assistance is going to include sovereign respect of Nigeria and to supply whatever Nigeria needs in the form of a loan, not aid, but rather a loan, because that's Trump's position. He wants to give trade, not aid. But if it's for the betterment of Nigeria, this could open the door to expanded trade with America and at the same time get rid of a domestic problem which has not been going away anytime soon. It needs affirmative action, and it needs it as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Ambassador Keshi, of course, Nigeria says they would take support, but nothing that comes to on the mission of sovereignty. What's your stance on an American intervention, Ambassador Keshi?
Look, our sovereignty is not being undermined. I can tell you I'm not too sure that the United States is going to try and invade this country, but it gives us an opportunity to engage the United States in so many ways. There are ways in which we can engage the United States and get this issue resolved. But again, I make the point. The first thing we need to do is end the insecurity in Nigeria. For goodness sake, stop the killing. Once we can do that, we can now begin to talk of other things with the United States. Now,
okay,
if we cannot do it on our own, we can actually engage the United States to help us in trying to, track down the marauders and then, clear them. Look, the president should give a clear-cut order to the military that between now and the next 3 months, no Nigerian space should be occupied by the bandits or by header states or whatever it's called.
Ambassador Keshi, apologies, but I must take Dr. Dangana's take on this. Dr. Dangana, while you were gone, I asked what your stance is on an American intervention. Where do you stand on this? Briefly, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Sincerely speaking, that was the direction I was heading to.
Okay.
This is a clear symptoms of security failure in Nigeria. Since all lives are under threat in Nigeria, Christians are not safe, Muslims are not safe, So if America is coming to help us and have a perfect security and have these terrorists and bandits and herdsmen flushed out, it's a welcome idea. I welcome that America should come and help us get out of this problem.
Okay, then.
There is nobody is losing. All of us are gaining.
Dr. Dangana.
It's not a question of religion. Life is life. No Muslim should die and no Christian should die. I support what Ambassador is saying. So if America is coming to help us end this, I am in support.
All right, then. Dr. Dangana, thank you very much, President Northwest Nigeria Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Also, thank you very much, Ambassador Keshi, retired diplomat, and, of course, Alexander von Jürgen. He also joined us to have this conversation. All three of you gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. Now, tonight continues. After this break, do stay with us. Welcome back. The leadership crisis in the People's Democratic Party has escalated. Now, security operatives on Monday sealed off both the party's national secretariat at Wadata Plaza and the Legacy House, headquarters of the National Convention Organizing Committee, shortly after Abdul Rahman Mohammed assumed office as acting national chairman. Heavily armed officers arrived at the Wadata Plaza headquarters in the early hours, ordering staff and journalists to vacate before locking the gates and taking up position around the complex. Not long after, another team of policemen shut down the Legacy House in Maitama, effectively paralyzing operations at the two key centers of the opposition party. News Central's correspondent Joshua Imarai has been on that story, and he joins us now for a situation report. Joshua, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on tonight. So security operatives have sealed the party's national secretariat in Abuja. What does the sealing of the PDP Secretariat tell us about the state of the party's discipline and also internal governance?
Well, good evening to you, Martino. One thing we must understand is the magnitude of the whole Secretariat of a political party. The National Secretariat of a political party being shut down under lock and key. It shows that the entire activities, the business of the day, the operations of the political party is brought under a halt. Everything is on a halt now. And that shows you that the party now is losing control of the organization and the mechanism at which is to ensure that things are brought to a place of legality. But if you should look at it now, we understand that that place is the National Secretariat of the party, and everything is brought to a halt. And it shows that it exhausted the internal mechanisms to ensure that such conflicts is brought to a halt. And it also shows that there seems to be that issue with the organization structure of the party for leadership of the party, not having the party national headquarters in their possession to ensure the running of the daily activities of the party, shows that there seems to be a problem with regards to leadership of the party. Mazino.
Joshua, in 30 seconds, from your vantage point, does this look like there will be a November convention?
Well, one thing we know is that there is already a lien by the court on the planned November 15 to 16 election. Of course, there is a court order barring all parties from engaging in the planned convention. The only way out of that is if the party by itself can resolve all the issues, actually be there in the party, but talking about the internal conflict, talking about the suspension flying around from opposition, from factional figures as well as factional parties in the same party. Only when they bring that to a stop, only then can they move ahead with the planned national convention slated for November 15 and 16.
Well, Joshua Marai, we wait to see, and we'll see you cover it when it happens. Thank you very much, Joshua. Now, Opay has announced the disbursement of 126 million naira in scholarships to students across 20 tertiary institutions as part of its 1.2 billion naira 10-year scholarship initiative. The announcement was made at the company's Empowering Future Conference 2025 in Lagos, and News Central's Omolola Ololade here has that story.
Why should I try to resist? Opay will know me so well.
Opay, one of Nigeria's leading financial technology companies, has unveiled its latest corporate social responsibility initiative, a 1.2 billion naira 10-year scholarship scheme designed to support academically gifted but financially disadvantaged students. At its Empowering Futures Conference 2025, the company announced the first disbursement of 126 million naira to students across 20 tertiary institutions. The event brought together stakeholders from academia, the private sector, and the media to witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the participating universities, formalizing Opay's commitment to long-term educational support.
We believe that the student education is the future. So, and Opay would like to join the future. Together, we have a brighter future. That's why we launched the 10 years, 1.2 billion scholarship.
Tapping into our core vision, being respected, we also want to begin to tap into the Nigerian youth, saying that we are able to work with them along their journey. We are not just a bank that is wanting to stay with them today, being like a PR stunt. We are one that would want to walk the walk, and not just want to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So it's going to be we working through them, working with them through their career development, from ensuring that they are able to have sustainable financial support for their education, and also provide career development opportunities, which is our graduate recruitment program.
Each year, 20 students from institutions including Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Calabar, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and 16 others will benefit from the program. Beyond tuition support, Opay says it will also establish cyber labs across these universities to enhance students' access to digital learning tools.
Opay had actually supported moves to ensure that we have a cyber security lab, and they also plan to support different projects that will enhance the livelihood of students while on campus.
If you go around our institutions, you will know that a number of our students are currently under financial burden. Of course, we may not be able to take everyone at a go, but bit by bit, you begin to impact on lives and begin to ensure that students have easy access to education.
Some of the beneficiaries expressed gratitude to Opay, describing the scholarship as a lifeline that will significantly impact their academic journey.
Opay scholarship have motivated me to study more harder, because from onset I've opted for many scholarships which I did not get, and I already given up until Opay came and remembered me, and I'm so happy, and I say big thank you to the Opay.
Opay scholarship have been impactful, and also I would say that the event too has also helped shape my mind, in the sense that from what the first speaker said, he said that Opay shows us success, and not only success but making it significant.
Educators and students at the event agreed that Opay has once again demonstrated that its mission goes beyond financial services. It is about empowering young Nigerians and changing lives through education. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
Now outside Nigeria and to the east of Africa, Tanzania's President Samia Suluhu Hassan has been sworn in for her first elected term after a controversial vote marred by violence and opposition exclusion. The Electoral Commission declared Hassan winner with 97.6% of the vote following an election that sparked deadly protests nationwide. The opposition party, Chadema, claims hundreds were killed during demonstrations, while the UN Human Rights Office cites credible reports of at least 10 deaths across 3 cities. The government has dismissed the opposition's figures as exaggerated, insisting the election was peaceful and lawful. And protests erupted in Uruapan, Mexico, after the assassination of Mayor Carlos Manzo Rodriguez, a vocal critic of drug cartels. Hundreds of residents dressed in black marched the streets demanding justice and shouting slogans against the ruling party. Manzo was shot 7 times during a Day of the Dead celebration, sparking outrage and calls for an end to violence and corruption. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the killing, promising justice and mobilizing state resources.
Now we talk business. The Nigerian government's recent approval of a 15% import duty on petrol and diesel aims to boost local refining capacity and reduce reliance on imports. President Bola Tinubu endorsed the tariff to support domestic refineries like Dangote and promote energy security. However, oil marketers warn this move could raise pump prices by up to 99 naira per litre, potentially exceeding 1,000 naira, and disrupt supply, especially for independent marketers reliant on imports. Economic experts acknowledge the policy's long-term benefits, but caution about short-term inflationary pressures and supply challenges. The government insists the duty will focus and foster local industry growth and establish stabilizing prices over time. Away from that, following President Trump's threat of possible military action against Nigeria over Islamist militant attacks, Nigeria's financial markets experienced a significant volatility. The naira weakened by 14 naira, 61 kobo, to close at 1,436 naira per dollar on the official foreign exchange market, while the parallel market saw a 1.04% appreciation to 1,440 naira per dollar. Nigeria's dollar bonds suffered steep losses, leading emerging markets declines, with 2,047 notes dropping to 88.26 cents on the dollar. External reserves rose to $43.19 billion of October 31. And President Bola Tinubu condemned Trump's remarks, emphasizing Nigeria's commitment to religious freedom and national stability. We'll now take a short break and return with market reports. And talking stocks now, the all-share index closed at 153,739.11 points, down 0.25%, as market capitalization settled at 97.58 trillion naira. Now, the day's loss reflects renewed profit-taking pressure, keeping overall sentiment slightly bearish. And talking about sectoral performance, we look at the banking sector that slipped 0.22%, dragged by mild sell-off in Tier 1 lenders, and investors booked profits after recent rallies. Insurance declined 1.48%, extending its losing streak as weaker investor interest persisted across low-cap counters. Well, we see oil and gas also dropped 3.94%, and of course, it's driven by sustained sell-offs in major energy stocks. Consumer goods appreciated 0.49%, and industrial goods is actually bland. So that's it for business at this time. I am Likon Obanjo.
In sports, Nigeria Premier Football League side Rivers United have been drawn against title holders Pyramids of Egypt after the draw for the group stage of the CAF Champions League group was held in Johannesburg, South Africa earlier today. Pyramids stunned Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa 3-2 on aggregate to win last season's final. Renazor Berkane of Morocco, who claimed last season's CAF Confederations Cup, and Power Dynamos of Zambia completes Group A. Rivers United are the first Nigerian club side to qualify for the lucrative stage since 2019 after overcoming Black Bulls of Mozambique 3-1 on aggregate. They are the only surviving Nigerian club in CAF club competitions this season. Their first match will be away to Pyramids in Cairo later this month. Now, FIFA on Monday announced it had dismissed the appeals lodged by Malaysia's Football Federation and its 7 players in the ongoing eligibility scandal linked to forged documents used for an Asian Cup qualifier. The World Football Governing Body suspended 7 foreign-born Malaysia national team players for a year and fined the federation $440,000 in September. FIFA accused the country's federation of submitting doctored or false documents that said the players had Malaysian ancestry, making them eligible to represent the Southeast Asian nation. Malaysia's Football Federation denied any deliberate wrongdoing and appealed the decision in October before suspending its Secretary General and saying it would establish an independent committee to investigate. Now, hundreds of police officers will be deployed in the UK city of Birmingham ahead of the Europa League match between Aston Villa and visiting the Israeli outfit Maccabi Tel Aviv. According to the West Midlands Police, as many as 700 police officers will be deployed to tackle any crime.